Man, salute to everybody, man. Shout out to the LDBC, man. Shout out to my brother Ticket. Shout out to everybody that been supporting, man. Y'all keep hitting them likes. Y'all keep subscribing. Man, y'all keep hitting the cash out support with Ticket got going on. He been cooking on this Diddy shit, giving y'all breaking news on what's going on with these players and celebrities out there. Y'all keep supporting, but man, we just gonna continue, man. Happy 4th of July, man. We just gonna continue. All these bums hating on Kobe. All these bums still talking and acting like Kobe would not have done what he did without Shaq. And I'm gonna just be real with you. Kobe Bryant would have three-peated without Shaq. You give any of the elite bigs, and I'm going to name, he would have three-peated with them. Tim Duncan for sure. He would have three-peated with Tim Duncan because now the Lakers don't have a weakness. Um, and defensively, they're just gonna be on a whole nother level. You put Kevin Garnett in that situation, same thing. They don't fall off at all defensively. They even better. They'd be one of the best defensive teams in the league, and no shadow of a doubt, that 1-2 punch of Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant would be too much for anybody in the league. They both around the same age, they're both peaking at the same time. They just would have been unstoppable. You put Chris Webber. People gotta remember Chris Webber was probably one of the best scorers out the group at the time in that big man position. He was averaging 27 at the time, giving you a double double. Was elite offensively, and he was not a bad defender. Wasn't the best, but he wasn't bad as well. And that 1-2 punch of C Webb and Kobe, the spacing would have been unbelievable for the Lakers. So guys like Robert Ory would have got off, Derek Fisher, Rick Fox would get off. A lot of the other guys, Glenn Rice, a lot of the other guys they had would have got a lot of great looks with Chris Webber. We could even bring up guys like I'm even going to later years, especially around if Kobe Bryant was afforded the opportunity to play with Yao Ming. While a lot of you bums speaking about Tracy McGrady, Kobe Bryant would have won with Yao Ming because he obviously won with Pau Gasol, and Yao Ming actually, when he was playing at his best, he's better than anything that Pau Gasol could put together. So, in all honesty, Kobe would have primed Yao when Yao was peaking. They would have won championships as well. And I hate to do this, but a lot of people hit me with, "Oh man, it's the Phil Jackson effect." Now, let's be real. Phil is a great manager of egos. But let's be honest, he was put into great situations. And I could go back in certain series, even dating back with the Bulls. That Phil Jackson, when it comes to making major adjustments, he typically didn't. I could give you an example in 1995 against the Magic. The triangle wasn't working due to the fact that they didn't have really a post presence. Um, Physically, they was getting dominated by Horace Grant. Shaq, Horace Grant averaged 18 and 11, and Shaq did his 24 and 14 basically in that series. Um, they basically should have changed up the triangle, did a little more space, and then speed up the tempo. But Phil didn't make that adjustment. And also, Phil didn't make his defensive adjustments to the Shaq and Penny pick and roll, which Shaq and Penny was killing them the whole series with that pick and roll. He didn't make any adjustments to that as well. So we've seen a lot of things for Phil that didn't equate. Then you can go to the 03 series against the Spurs. Phil again did not make adjustments to the Tim Duncan pick and roll with Tony or Manu. He didn't make any adjustments at all. And also, he held on to the triangle a little bit too long. I think in that series, which he should have, it is not a thing to it. He should have did pick and roll with Shaq and Kobe, broke away from the triangle because the Spurs were schematically prepared for the triangle, and they exploited all the weeks. The defensive scheme basically was set to expose all the role players that the Lakers had. So Phil didn't do what he was supposed to do in that particular series. Then 2004, of course, he most definitely should have ran pick and roll with Shaq and Kobe. And defensively, he did a poor job because he kept Gary Payton on Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups was cooking Gary Payton the whole series. That was a bad way. And defensively, they just was out of sync. He didn't make any adjustments towards that as well. So Phil, as great as he is, you can't give all the credit to Phil because Phil always been put into great situations. He came into the Chicago Bulls after they won 55 games and been in the conference finals. He came into the Lakers after they went 31-19 in that lockout year. He came to that team when Shaq and Kobe was already started to peak before he came. And then when Phil came back, Lakers made certain moves to put the Lakers in position to contend again. So Phil was always afforded great opportunities. So we never really seen him build the team from the ground up. So a lot of guys like to use Phil as a caveat. Phil, greatest coach of all, got the most rings, but you can't give all the credit to him because he was placed in great situations as well. But I just want people to realize, man, the hate for Kobe Bryant is unwarranted. It shouldn't be going on. If you guys love basketball, you should love Kobe Bean Bryant because he was the epitome of putting the game first before anything else. The guy eats, sleep, and shit basketball. That's all you can ask for any player that play the game. That's what a lot of these players have forgotten in today's league. And we even see that with Shaq and Kobe. I apologize, y'all. I apologize, y'all. My bad for
What
that.
up, Herm?
Let me know if y'all hear me. If y'all hear me, I had a call. Y'all hear me?
We can hear you, Herm. What up?
What up? What up? Go ahead and cook right quick and let me see what's going on with y'all.
Herm, you bring up the Phil Jackson years, right? And you're talking about adjustments. So with some of those Lakers teams, if you remember the years that they lost to the Spurs, for example, there were probably some things that Phil could have did differently that may have changed or altered the trajectory of those series, right? Especially where we're talking about the Spurs. So he really didn't have anything for Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, I mean, had some amazing series against the Lakers. And those adjustments weren't really there. So I think I kind of see what you're saying. And then additionally, you talk about Phil Jackson always having like certain accommodations, having all these resources, right? And teams always being like really good, having lots of talent. You don't really hear about how Phil Jackson leveled up regular guys and got them to be overachievers. Like, you don't really hear that. Like, I think one of the hallmarks of a great coach is taking guys who are average or below average and then helping them get better. Like, so taking an average Joe and making them good, or taking a good player and making them great. I don't know how much of that we saw like with Phil Jackson in terms of the players for the Lakers or play like I mean, are we gonna give Phil Jackson some credit for Powell? Maybe. I mean, that would be valid, I think. Right. But I don't really remember that many guys, that were regular, average Joes that leveled up and you said, you know what, Phil Jackson really helped this guy become so much greater than he was, like a regular role player becoming an all-star. You don't even, and I don't want to say he didn't. I'm just saying we don't hear that discussion being talked about amongst players and coaches who are playing and coaching in that era. You don't really hear that all that much. You hear people discuss Phil as a great coach because of great achievement, because of the dominance in the rings, but you don't hear those same discussions how they helped guys along be more than what they may have been otherwise. Right. So I kind of I don't know. To me, I think that's always the hallmark of a truly great coach. Right. Getting guys beyond their level of proximity in terms of how good they are. So that's an important point, I think, as a measure of greatness too. But he definitely has the chips. Whenever he was getting to the finals, I mean, it was basically a slam dunk, right? He produced rings, so it's hard to argue against Phil Jackson being a great coach. You can't do that. You can't say he wasn't great, or you can't say he wasn't very great. He was very great. He's one of the best ever. Um, he did always have a lot of talent. I don't think Phil Jackson wanted to coach unless he had a lot of talent. I don't think he was ever interested in that. Or else he would have coached the Knicks when he had a chance, and he didn't. So that's also an important point. He wanted to make sure he had, rosters that were ready to compete. He had that in Chicago. He had it in LA across, the different segments of the timeline of the Lakers history. And he wanted nothing to do with coaching in New York. I mean, even the Melo years, he didn't want to coach. He was in management. He didn't want to coach that team. and I don't blame him. He had already coached, 30 years across 3 decades as a coach beyond 2010. So, you know, I, I I don't want I don't like talking down on coaches. I don't like talking down on players. But it does seem like Phil Jackson did have some really, really great situations and accommodations. And I do think he maximized his own achievement as a coach. But I think if there's one valid thing to question is, we don't really hear the discussions about how he made very regular guys very good. There were, I mean, there were guys who enjoyed great careers under Phil Jackson. I'm just looking for the players of the past, the coaches of the past that are complimentary of Phil Jackson in that regard. I just don't hear it. Maybe it is there and nobody's just discussing it, or maybe I'm just not hearing it. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, what happened to the brothers, man? Y'all still on?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, I had that phone call. That's why I was telling you to go ahead and cook, man. But the thing is with these bums, man, they just want to hate on Kobe just to push their agenda. They want to downplay him just so they can put him down on the ranks. Like I hear guys all the time that advocate for Tim Duncan, but how? And the same things that you try to say about Tim Duncan, you can obviously put in the same conversations with Kobe and guys like Tim Duncan never won back to backs, never been to three straight finals at a time.
But
But
Herm, why they gotta put someone down in order to lift someone up?
that's true. But
Why
that's what
why why can't all rising tides lift all the boats? Why do we have to put one down to lift one up?
we gotta ask everybody that's doing the down plan on these guys' legacy. Because I think Kobe Bryant's story is the reason why he's one of the best players to ever lace him up. Period. Because he was put in the situation that they sat him down. He didn't get an opportunity to play by Darius because he didn't believe in playing young guys. And he
But
basically
Dale,
been.
but Del Harris was not a good coach.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was terrible. He was
Del
terrible.
Harris was a bad coach. Clearly he made a huge mistake, or whatever, his philosophy was flawed. Kobe goes
Yeah.
on to win 5 rings, and you decided you were going to sit him his first year and not play him over guys like Eddie Jones, who are good players, but you got to find a way to get your guys in there that are going to be the future, end up being Hall of Fame, 5-time champion, scoring champion, All NBA dozen plus times. Like you had that on the bench.
Yeah, yeah. And like when people try to push Shaq to a degree, like Shaq, like Kobe Bryant was the reason why Shaq didn't win more titles with the Lakers. I think that's absurd due to the fact that he did have an all-star backcourt in Van Exel and Eddie Jones, and he also had serviceable players like Cedric Ceballos. He had guys like Elder Campbell on the roster. He had a deep roster when he first arrived. And then once Kobe got there, he added to it, and they still was getting their ass whooped in the first round for some apparent reason. So, end of the day, they needed each other. They both enhanced each other. Kobe was the type of player to get the best out of Shaq because Shaq's problem is motivation. And end of the day, Shaq needed a guy that would challenge him, and Kobe was the perfect guy to challenge him because Kobe wanted to win more than anything. So they fed off each other, and I think how guys trying to pit them against each other like one of them held each other back is crazy. And the reason I'm doing it because I got to speak factual about what was going on with Shaquille O'Neal at the time and how end of the day he had just as much to do with the Lakers not dominating even more than what they even did with the three-peat. So, a lot of people like to point to Kobe '04. I could point to Shaquille O'Neal in '03. I could say yes, Kobe Bryant's immaturity, his frustration with everything, him being unprofessional in 2004. led to the Lakers' demise. But I can also say in 2003, with Shaq not being with Shaq being out of shape, Shaq not taking a regular season serious at the time, put them in a situation you went against a motivated San Antonio Spurs, a well coached team, and they whooped their ass.
Yeah, but
So
who got worse? Who was getting worse over time and who was getting better over time?
it was
Kobe
Shaquille
was getting
O'Neal.
better with time and Shaq was getting worse. So whose fault was it that they were losing?
You gotta put it on the best player.
But I'm saying if the team isn't really changing, you got the same core dudes, and one of them's getting better and the other one's getting worse, and you're not winning anymore, then whose fault is it they're not winning?
I put a lot of it on Phil as well, though. I mean, a lot of people stop
Bro,
crying,
I
boy.
remember I remember
Stop
her.
crying.
I
Stop crying.
remember times where Phil should have been calling a timeout to stop a run, and him
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sitting on
yeah.
his seat doing nothing.
He did that. He did a bad job of that. I think it was game. What year was that? It was a game four that I knew they blew a 26 point. They threw a 24 point lead, and they were storming back in the game. And Phil Jackson did not call any timeouts. Phil didn't try to slow down, didn't make any substitutions or nothing. He just let his
You know
team
it's crazy, Herm.
try to figure it out.
Sometimes,
They blew that lead.
sometimes, Herm, no decision is worse than a decision. Right?
Yep.
It's the worst decision to make is to just sit there and just let things happen. You got times in the finals where you have to be very cognizant and aware of very small, intricate things. Like Rick Carlisle, he had the Pacers in a 7-game series against the Thunder because he was pushing all the right buttons. If you're sitting on the bench doing nothing, what buttons are you pushing?
Yep. Yep. That's why I tell people when they try to do the Phil Jackson text, because that's what I've been
Bro,
seeing a
Phil
lot.
Jackson's a great coach, Herm, but he's not perfect. No, none of these guys are perfect.
I think I,
Acting
I
like
I think Greg Popovich a better coach, even though Phil got more range. But I think Greg Popovich a better coach because he draw up more different schemes. He
did did
always
did
made
Greg
more
Popovich get
adjustments.
more out of players than Phil Jackson did?
Yes,
See,
we
that's
seen.
kind of I think that's a hallmark of a good coach, a great coach.
Yeah, we
Getting
seen.
more out of guys that may not have necessarily gotten there without that coach.
Yeah, and I agree with Hitman though. When you don't make a decision, that still is hindsight making a decision though. So he still made a
But in that
decision
case,
to
when
not
you
make
gave
an
up all
adjustment.
those points and you weren't stopping the bleeding, that was a bad decision to do nothing.
Yeah, he made a mistake. He made a mistake in that, and to
Yeah, but he
respond
did
to
that often.
and
That was not a one-off, Herm. That was one of his things.
oh yeah,
He'd
he
sit
he
there
was
and he'd say,
terrible
"You
at
guys
that.
got to work it out." And it's like, okay, well, it didn't work the last time. Let's do this again.
And I'm gonna hit FIF with this. It wasn't about what Phil allowed Kobe to do. Like Phil understood out of the two players, if I'm gonna get one player to sacrifice and listen and to calm their ego down, I got a better chance at calming Kobe Bryant's ego than Shaq's ego. Shaq openly admits how his ego was. He did it with Penny Hardaway, a guy that I know personally, a guy that I was part of his AU programs, been around him a lot, one of the nicest human beings that you'll ever meet at Penny Hardaway. But Shaquille O'Neal was jealous of Penny Hardaway, and he ultimately messed that duo up. I think that duo would have overthrown the Bulls eventually. But honestly, Shaquille O'Neal let his ego get in the way, and that's why he did depart the Magic the way he did.
Bro, Shaq is one of the
Penny,
most
Penny,
underachieved, has some of the most underachievement, storylines I think in league history. A lot of people will point to Will Chamberlain and say, "How was he so dominant?" And he only won two. Well, I think we say the same thing about Shaq. How could he be so dominant and then get swept out of the playoffs so many times? I mean,
He
some of
did. He
those
did
series
get.
should,
He was getting swept by teams. Honestly, the Lakers should have beat those Utah Jazz teams. The lockout year, when they was a solid team in that lockout year, they should not have got swept by the
bro.
Spurs, but they
Hakeem
did. But
Hakeem
they
was
did.
10 years his elder. He had him in a blender for 4 straight games in those
Now,
finals.
now I can understand because Hakeem was on an all-time level at that time. You know, Hakeem was the most unstoppable player in the game around
No, the
those
claim
years.
was Shaq was the most
Yeah, but
unstoppable
Shaq.
player in the league.
Yeah, but you got to realize Shaq was like a third-year player. So I don't now when
Yeah, but I
players.
didn't set the narrative, Herm. I
Nah,
didn't
but
say that.
I
I
I, un-
wasn't the
I,
one
I
saying that Shaq
understand.
was.
I understand, but I'm a guy like when it comes to Michael Jordan when he was getting his ass kicked his first 4 or 5 years of his career. I don't mark that because you still learning your way of the league. You still learning how to be a professional. You still developing. You still
You don't
trying to
remember what he said
understand what
about
you need to do
Hakeem,
to be a
bro?
winner.
You don't
LeBron
remember that,
James.
Herm?
Yeah, LeBron James, same way. I don't knock LeBron James for '07. He had to learn how to be a leader, learn how to win. I don't knock guys that, like their first 4 or 5 years because you still learning. Still learning a lot of different things, being a professional, being a
Yeah, but
leader
he
amongst
said he
men.
was. He said he was going to kick Hakeem's ass, and he himself got swept.
Yeah. Now, let me say this though. They had a certain factors because the Magic did come out dominant in that game 1. They was blowing them out. They blew that lead. Nick Anderson missed all those free throws in the fourth quarter, and unfortunately, the momentum shifted after that game 1. They lost their, Nick Anderson lost his confidence, and the Orlando Magic could come back from that because they was in shock of how they was dominating the Rockets with ease because they was dominating them with
And
ease.
what did Shaq do to stop Hakeem?
I mean, he wasn't gonna stop a king regardless. The king was gonna be a king regardless, though.
But see,
I
see,
understand
Herm, you
that.
got to remember back in these days, players played traditional positions. Whenever Hakeem was on the floor and Shaq was on the floor, they weren't moving. It was those two. They met each other in the paint.
But do you expect a third-year player to deal with one of the best
I
centers
expect
of that
someone
time?
who writes checks with his mouth to have to be able to cash
Yeah,
that.
but that was a young, immature player
But the conversation is about Shaq
that ran
underachieving,
his mouth.
right? Isn't
Yeah.
the is it okay?
No,
So that was kind of
the conversation is about the haters of Kobe being Bryant. That's really the conversation. I have people downplaying his career and people downplaying his significance of what he
well.
did for the
What
Los
I'm
Angeles
saying, Herm,
Lakers.
is that Shaquille O'Neal. Everybody acts like he carried Kobe. I don't see it the same way. I saw a guy who throughout his career underachieved. So if anything, Kobe was the best thing to ever happen to him.
I mean, Shaq did win his first title with Kobe out of all the great players he ever played with. So, yes, Kobe did some type of significance with Shaq because I always say,
And then
end
by
of
the
the day,
third season, Herm,
Kobe was the only guy to actually get the best out of Shaq because Shaq was the guy that was involved in a lot of different things off the court, whether it was movies, whether it was rapping. He was big about his brand. So early on, Shaq was just big about the Shaq brand. So
and then
Kobe
by his
Bryant,
third season, Herm, their second
uh,
playoff run, right? The second finals run,
you,
Kobe was already starting to have better playoff series than Shaq.
I mean, through
It
the West,
happened.
yeah, through the West, yeah.
Yes, it happened. So there were series where Kobe was better than Shaq in their second finals run. So we were already seeing moments where Kobe was better than him. Now Shaq in the second final, so first finals run, Shaq was otherworldly.
He was motivated. Had something to prove. A lot of people was doubting him, so he came with it because a lot of people were saying he would
But
never be a
the
winner.
second
So he
finals run.
came with it in '99, 2000. So he was self motivated by. You got guys like Magic Johnson saying he wasn't gonna win. Kareem was saying that he wasn't a winner. Zeke was saying he wasn't. Bill Walton was calling out Shaq every damn chance he got at that time, in which a lot of people tend to forget. But end of the day, yeah, '99 Shaq, it was no stopping Shaq. But after that, he wasn't as motivated because he got the monkey off his back. So like I tell niggas, it took a nigga like Kobe to keep that nigga motivated, to challenge him, get in his face. Cause Shaq deep down did not want that nigga Kobe to be the man of the team. So that's what kept Shaq going in the midst of their runs. Because at the end of the day, Shaq wasn't ready to relinquish control of the team to Kobe. So Shaq was motivated in hindsight, like, yeah, I'm gonna turn up now. Yeah, I ain't finna let this young dude that's getting in my face talking shit to me run this team. It's still my team. So that's how hindsight this still was dominant because Shaq wasn't ready to let go of anything being the man yet. So it worked out. You know what I'm saying? Their duo worked out. Kobe was getting the best out of Shaq, whether Kobe knew at the time or not, and Shaq was getting the best out of Kobe because Kobe was so damn motivated and so damn willing to try to be the man and wanted to be the man that their competitiveness against each other, their dislike with each other, ultimately gave them the motivation to whoop a lot of these teams' asses. And that's what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to this Shaq and Kobe duo effect. So they needed each other. And a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people try to downplay. And like I said, when it comes to Phil Jackson, one of the most overrated coaches of all time. That's just the honest God truth. He was afforded great situations. Afforded great situations, man. He came into the Bulls after they won 55 games and being in the conference finals. He came into the Lakers after they had a solid year in the lockout, being 31-19, and Shaq and Kobe was finding their way. So you came into a great situation in that when you did come back to the Lakers for Kobe Bryant again, hell, the Lakers made great moves, and hell, you ultimately had a championship contender team again. So it's not like Phil ever built the team up. So if it's a knock against Phil Jackson, it's the fact that he never developed a team like we've seen the Greg Popovich develop a team. Hell, I've seen Greg Popovich defensive schemes make a guy like Boris Diaw look like a defender when Boris Diaw in Phoenix. It looked like the motherfucker couldn't stop anybody. He couldn't stop anybody at Phoenix, but when he went to the Spurs, he looked like a solid defender under Greg Popovich schemes and how he was able to extend a guy like Tim Duncan's career. Because Tim Duncan actually started breaking down after 2005. A lot of people don't like to realize that about Tim Duncan. Really, after 2005, he started breaking down. He couldn't be at the great defender that he was, especially holding his own man one on one. He wasn't that anymore. And it showed, especially in that 2007 finals, that he wasn't going to be able to be the man. And for him to be able to extend Tim Duncan's career, that just shows how great of a coach that nigga is, and how he was able to enhance put these international players in great positions to succeed and dominate the way they did. Um, that non-stop ball movement, motion offense. A lot of people wasn't doing. They're doing that in today's NBA, but at that time, really nobody was doing it. So Greg Popovich knew how to get the best out of anything he had on his roster, just to be honest. But like I said, man, all the hate, all the narratives, all the propaganda, niggas ain't talking basketball. Just talk the game. If you love basketball, you gonna love all these all-time great players. You gonna love the Shaqs, even though you could have been disappointed at the fact he wasn't pushing himself. You gonna love the Kobe's because he eats, sleep, and shit basketball, which a lot of these fake ass niggas on YouTube claim they do eat, sleep, and shit basketball. Um, you got you got niggas like LeBron James. If you love to see every facet of the game, you gotta respect LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? If you love to see ultimate professional, you go love Tim Duncan. If you just love to be at awe at a lot of amazing shit that you thought you'll never see, you will love Michael Jordan. It's a lot of these players that we gotta start respecting and just start talking the game. You don't have to hate. You don't have to push propaganda. You don't have to create a lot of different non-factual shit just so you could get your point across or whatever you believe to be true. That's what I'm sick of. That's what I don't respect. That's what I am gonna call out. These bums that do that. Stop hating. Love the game. Talk the game. Break down X's and O's because a lot of these niggas can't even break down X's and O's. So teach them that. That's better than trying to rewrite history. That's better trying to say, well, this what T Mac would have did with Shaq. No, you can't say that. We can't do that because I can easily do that. Well, Kobe would have three-peated with Duncan. Oh, Kobe would have three-peated with KG. Oh, Kobe would have three-peated with C. Well, oh, Kobe would have got one with Yao Ming. Oh, Kobe would have won back-to-backs with Dirk. Come on, we can't do that. We don't know that. So let's just enjoy what we saw. That was one of the best, if not the best duo of all time. One of the best duos we ever seen. Shaq and fucking Kobe. That duo was in damn near every rap song you can think of. Every rap song you can think of, you hearing Shaq and Kobe. Shaq and Kobe. Come on, man. Y'all can't rewrite history, man. Y'all can't create stories that wasn't true. Y'all can't do that, man. I love Bubba Chuck to death. He ain't winning three straight with Shaq. Them niggas love to party too much. So you got two party animals kicking. That shit ain't gonna work, man. They'll get you one, but them niggas kicking it too much. They around the women too much. They popping bottles too much. They in the studio too much. It would have been all types of shit going on with Shaq and AI. They would have been having too much fun. But I just want you guys to enjoy y'all fourth. I want you guys to shout out to So Crazy, man. I want you guys to just, when you talk the game of basketball, just talk about it from the love of the game. Just respect the game. A lot of niggas don't respect it no more. We got a lot of niggas out here that value the dollars over the game. Cause one thing about them dollars don't last. Anything can happen to you. Anything can be set up for to take it away. But when a nigga talk about how you was on that court, when a nigga talk about how you talk about that game, shit, you want to be remembered as a nigga that did the game the right way. You don't want to be remembered as a nigga that caused a lot of disrespect. You don't want to. You don't want to be. You don't want to be the nigga that sat up there and was more worried about the dollar over being on the court. You don't want that. You want niggas to respect what you gave to the game and what you still giving to the game. A lot of these dumbasses forget about that. A lot of these bums forget about that, man. And yeah, I'm gonna send a shout out. I'm gonna do something that never been done. I don't think anybody ever done it. I don't think anybody had the balls to do it, but I'm finna do it. Kenyon Martin, for you to do what you did, it just shows you a hater too. And Kenyon Martin, I'm gonna tell you how it is, man. You a bust. If Kwame Brown a bust, Kenyon Martin a bust too. Remember, Kenyon Martin was the number one pick, y'all. Out of his whole career, he only made one All-Star game. He been to the finals twice, but we knew it wasn't because of him. Jason Kidd was the clear-cut best player on the team. And Jason Kidd is the reason that he even got his lone All-Star year. And when it comes to Kenyon Martin, he never been top 10 as a power forward. Never been, because see, we let him slide. We talked about T-Mac and we try to talk about Gill and all that. No, that's one nigga that slid under the cracks, Kenyon Martin. A nigga that always slid under the cracks. A nigga that always avoided the bus talk. Nah, you in the bus conversation, nigga. You like in the same tier when it comes to number one picks like Joe Smith. A lot of people a lot of people believe Joe Smith was a bust as a number one pick. A lot of people believe Joe Smith a number one pick, but when we think about Kenyon Martin's career, even at his peak, Kenyon Martin wasn't even the top 10 at his position. I can name a lot of guys that was specifically better than Kenyon Martin. I can name a lot of guys that was better than Kenyon Martin. P.J. Brown. I'd rather have a P.J. Brown on my team before Kenyon Martin. Kurt Thomas. Kurt Thomas was better than Kenyon Martin.
Who was
I,
picked after Joe Smith, Herm?
huh?
Who else notable was picked after Joe Smith?
I don't remember. You can do the same thing with Kenyon Martin, but I think in that draft, the best player in that draft with Kenyon Martin was Jamal Crawford and Mike Miller. Those were the two best players from that 2000 draft. From Joe Smith draft, I have to go back and remind myself. But I think he got the number one. I think he was chosen number one due to the prestige of North Carolina. I don't think he was actually the best player. That he should not have been number one, but they chose him though. Um, but we just gotta tell it. We just gotta tell it how it is when it comes to Kenyon Martin though. He's a bust. You a real deal bust. When it comes to your position, you wasn't better than Jermaine O'Neal. You
Nah.
wasn't better. You wasn't better than the Al Harrington. Al
Nah,
Harrington would give you, but you wasn't better than Lamar Odom.
nah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't even naming the top niggas. I ain't even got to get to them. We know who was better than you when it comes to the top niggas. You know what I'm saying? So for you to talk like you that nigga, you wasn't that nigga. At least with Charles Oakley, when they gave him that force name, at least Charles Oakley averaged a double double. Charles Oakley averaged a double double for his career. Charles
Okay.
Oakley had solid touch for 10 to 15 feet. Not only he was the enforcer, Charles Oakley actually had a little game to him.
Yeah.
Ken, that ugly ass jump shot you had, that shit wasn't wet. That shit wasn't automatic, man. You were just athletic, but you was a fake ass bully at that. You wasn't like that, man. Chris Birdman Anderson started getting more clock than you in Denver because his impact was more than yours at Denver at one point in time. Sean Marion was better than you at the power forward position. Antoine Jameson was better than you at the power forward position. Antonio Davis, even later in his career, had more value than you
Well,
did at the power
you're
forward.
naming guys that could do more, right? Like they just had a
Yeah,
more complete game.
yeah. I name the guys that had complete games. Like PJ Brown had an offensive game to him. You could give the ball to PJ Brown in the post and he'll
He
get you a
gets you some
bucket.
points. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You could give the
Yeah.
ball to Kurt Thomas. He'll get you some buckets. Al Harrington, shit, he was a 3 level scorer. He was ahead of his time. Jermaine O'Neal, he was at hell. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year 1 year in his career. And he was money. And he had an offensive game and was money. And he led Indiana to 60 games as being the guy. Kenyon Martin, you never led as the guy. You could be the guy. You could be the
Are
guy
you
because you
saying,
just wasn't that
Herm?
good.
Are you saying that some people overrate Kenyon Martin, or Kenyon Martin overrates Kenyon Martin?
Kenyon is both. Both.
Well,
See, I think a lot of niggas don't speak on Kenyon though, because he does have that mentality of being a enforcer type of nigga. And truth be told, Corey Maggette got up with you too. Truth be told, but say that for another day. I'm just talking about what you did on the basketball court. On the basketball court, Kenyon Martin, you was a bust. Kwame Brown played for a long time. Yeah, I still try to call Kwame Brown a bust. He was the number 1 pick. Yeah, he didn't get one All Star to you. So if you go off of that, just go off of that alone. Okay, you got one more All Star to Kwame, so I guess you could get the edge. But for number 1 pick standards, Kenyon Martin, to which they apply to everybody else, it was a damn bust, man. To number 1 pick standards, you a damn bust. Terrible.
a number one pick is very typically expected to make multiple All Star games. You know, that's supposed to be a franchise player who's going to uplift that squad for several years, make playoff runs. You know, I mean, he didn't do any of those things.
He never did. And like I said, the time that he made the deep postseason runs is because of Jason Kidd. And you could argue Keith Van Horn was the second most important player on the New Jersey Nets at that time. He wasn't no damn Kenyon Martin. He wasn't no damn Kenyon Martin. We just got to tell it how it is when it comes to him, man. I could actually put 15 motherfuckers above Kenyon Martin in his own era when it comes to power forwards. I
Wait,
could actually do it.
Did he say something about Kobe? Is that what this is about?
Yeah, he co-signed. He
What did he
co-signed.
say?
He just basically co-signed everything Gil was saying. Basically
Man,
co-signed with T-Mac as
you
well.
know what's
And
crazy about Gilbert Arenas is he'll talk out of two sides of his mouth and say that Kobe was his GOAT, and then all of a sudden now he's this, and then sometimes he says that. I mean, you can't really entertain too much about what Gilbert is saying, bro.
no, I understand Gil. Gil go do what sell. Gil go do what go get the attention. You know what I'm saying? So I understand what Gil do, but for Kenyon Martin, he's supposed to be recognized as a thorough nigga. You know what Kobe Bryant was doing on that court, nigga. You dealt with him when you was in Denver. How
I was
Kobe
gonna say
Bryant
he spent
was
lots of
doing
years
this.
in Denver.
How Kobe Bryant was kicking y'all ass. Oh yeah, another nigga that was better than you too. Pal Gasol better than you
Did
too.
Denver ever make the Western Conference Final? I think they
Yes,
did one year,
they
right?
did. They did. They did face the Lakers in the Western Conference
Yeah,
Final,
yeah, yeah, that's what I remember. Okay.
and Kobe was torching their ass.
Yeah, send them home.
Yeah. Kenyon Martin, man. Pal was better than you too, man. Pal was better than you too, nigga. Yeah, Zach Randolph, he was better than you too. Zebo was
Oh,
better than you
Zebo
too.
was a bucket, bro.
Like I said, Kenyon Martin, man, I can name 15 guys better than you all time. You a real deal bust. If niggas ain't never told you, Hollywood Hearn would tell you, you was a bust. You a real deal bust. You was a good college player. You was cool. But I thought Chris Dorsey out of Memphis that played for the University of Memphis at the time you was in Cincinnati. No, not Chris Dorsey. Not Chris Dorsey. God damn. I can name a lot of motherfuckers better than you. I know that. And that's all I know. I can keep naming motherfuckers better than you, King. Like I said, man, you ain't built like that, homie. You just was a yeah, you right. Joe Smith did with the mirror. Yeah, Chris came in the center though. That's why I ain't named Chris Kaman because he's the center. He's the center. That's why I ain't named. Hell, Malik Rose had more value on the Spurs than you had on the New Jersey Nets, man. Yeah, you right about Joe Smith. He did go to Maryland. My bad. Thank you for the correction. I don't always be right. Unlike these other bums that claim to be right. I don't always be right. I be mixing up shit sometimes. Yeah, Kenyon Martin play hard. But shit, Kwame Brown play hard. So what makes you think Kwame Brown didn't play hard? Because you play hard don't mean you a bust. It don't mean that you're not a bust. According to how they create that label of being the bust in the first place. Now, in the game of life, no, they not bust. They made money. They changed their family lives. And hey, if they did right with their money, they set for life. They runners in the game of life before us when it comes to basketball since they created the label bust. Hey,
But hold on, Herm. He ain't more of a bust than Anthony Bennett.
more than Anthony Bennett.
I was gonna say he's not as much a bust as
It,
Anthony Bennett.
it's not a label of what's a worse bust or not, though. A bust is a bust. It don't
Yeah.
matter who was worse. A bust is a bust, though. He didn't do number one pick standards.
Nah, he didn't.
That's what he didn't do. He didn't do number one pick standards.
But it's good to get that payday though, Herm.
Oh yeah, King. Like I said, in the game of life, Kenyon Martin won that. In the game of life, man, salute to him. He won that. He
Yeah.
won that. So you
Yeah.
changed your family life, nigga. Yeah, salute to that.
Yeah.
But when it
Big.
comes to
Yeah.
basketball, since we talking basketball, yeah, you was a bust. Like guys like Greg Oden, the bust. We can keep going with other guys that's bust. But I want to just focus on one guy that I know was a bust. Kenyon Martin. David West. David West was a better power forward than you, Kenyon Martin, as well. And he was tougher. And he was tougher than you too. Cause you ain't whooping David West's ass. I know you ain't whooping his ass. I know you wanna go try to punk him out. So man, like I said, man, before guys run them out, you gotta remember how your career was. You gotta remember what you was doing out there on that goddamn court. You play hard, but it doesn't. It's a lot of niggas that play hard. Don't mean that they. You don't think Smush Parker was playing hard? Smush Parker was playing hard too. You don't think Jordan Farmar was playing hard? He was playing hard too. Yeah, Udonis Haslam better than Kenyon Martin too. Yeah, I take UD any day over Kenyon Martin. Hell yeah, better defender. Would do more offensively than Kenyon Martin. He's definitely better. And guess what? It ain't about liking Kenyon Martin. It's about telling the fact about his career. Like you try to tell the fact about Kobe Bryant's career, I'm telling the fact about Kenyon Martin's career. I'm telling the fact about Kenyon Martin's career. But man, y'all, I just want to do a quick video just to talk to the Kobe Bryant haters again. You seen I got one of the haters coming out. Shout out to FYF, one of the biggest Kobe haters out there. He came in the chat, man. Appreciate shout out to FYF. Still my brother. He came to the chat, so you know, like I said, they don't want to be recognized as haters in the midst of getting called one. But they do hater shit. When you do hater shit, you gonna get called on. It's gonna get put in your face. It's gonna be you gonna be reminded of how much a hater that you truly are. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's so crazy. Paul Millsap is better than Kenyon Martin too. But man, I'm out in these streets, man. About to get back kicking with the family, man. Y'all hit that like button, man. I appreciate you for coming on, my brother. Good chopping it up. And I appreciate you for holding Shaq accountable, in which nobody likes to do, because Shaq is a lovable guy. He is funny. But he's a nasty motherfucker, too. Yeah, Al Horford is better than Kenyon Martin, too. I think guys could keep coming with names. But, man, love y'all. Y'all hit that like button. Hit tickets cash out. Keep supporting the ticket because he grinding. Subscribe to this podcast, man. Subscribe to this platform. We gonna keep doing our thing. We gonna keep calling out these bombs. Shout out to Kobe Bean Bryant, man. The disrespect that you gonna stop on courtesy of the LDBC, man. That's one thing we gonna do, man. Salute y'all. I'm out, y'all.